Welcome to the Men's 911 Show. Each week, mental health host experts Sharon Jackson and Tara Evans share their wisdom on how to help men afflicted with female abuse. The mission is to support men who have suffered interpersonal abuse and assault of domestic violence. More than 830,000 men fall victim to domestic violence every year, which means every 37.8 seconds, somewhere in America, a man is battered. Tara and Sharon tell the untold stories of abused men to bring awareness to the changes that need to take place so that men of all ages can receive the support and services they need to reach their potential for a healthy and meaningful life. Tara and Sharon help guide you on your way to improve outcomes for this underserved population. Okay, audience, here is Men 911 with Sharon Jackson and Tara Evans.
Welcome to the Men's 911 Show. Audience, this is your co-host, Tara Evans, and I'm here with my co-host, Sharon Jackson. And today we have a special guest on the show. For the past several weeks, my co-host and I have been covering domestic violence against men, the effects that it has on men, their children, and other family members. Today we welcome Ann Silvers. Ann is a mental health counselor, relationships coach, and author from the Seattle area in Washington State. She's the author of 15 self-help books, including Abuse of Men by Women, It Happens, It Hurts, and It's Time to Get Real About It. Ann, welcome to the Men's 911 Show.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for the great work that you two are doing.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ann. Since we started this radio show, I was so excited to have you come on. When I started my research about 4 or 5 years ago, your book was one of the very few out there. It's an easy read, and it just is excellent information on this issue. And also, you corrected us too on our statistics. What are the correct statistics?
Yes, so I think that he just used different statistics than what I had seen associated with your program before. So okay. I'm not as sure about the raw numbers. He used a raw number.
Okay.
Previously, there was a 1 in 10 number, and so I for a long time just avoided the stats until the CDC came out with research that looks to me like it's reasonable research. And so they are using a number 1 in 3 for women and the same number for men.
Yes.
In terms of who is the target of intimate partner violence in relationships. And so that's the number that I am most comfortable with. And that was based on telephone survey, huge, like 10,000 plus people, a national survey in the U.S., and general population.
Right.
So that, I think, is a really key piece. We can't be using survey numbers that are based on people who are in domestic violence shelters, because that's a skewed number. We can't use numbers that are based on people who are brought into the court system as being labeled perpetrators, because that's a skewed number. So I trust the general population number.
Right. Wonderful. Right. Yeah. The statistics, I always say that the statistics are not correct for many reasons, but that is a really good, realistic 1 in 3 number. I appreciate that. How did you get interested in this topic?
Yes. So when I first started my counseling practice, so counseling was not my first career. So I'm 20 years into this particular career. And around 20 years ago, as I was starting my private practice, I had a male friend who was telling me his stories about being abused by his wife. And I minimized them. I sort of took them with a grain of salt. And as I heard more and saw more evidence of what was going on, I had to come to grips with, he's being abused. Now, in that case, it was emotional abuse, financial, verbal, those levels. And but it opened my eyes. Before that, I really was of the masses who thought, maybe it happens to guys, but it's not important. And so once my eyes were open, I just was inundated with men trying to tell me their stories, and noticing it in my clients and recognizing I had missed it. Luckily, I was only a couple years or relatively short time into my practice, so I hadn't missed a lot. But once my eyes were open, it was the shift that I needed, and I think it's what a lot of people need. They're just blinded to the fact that this is going on.
Right. Correct. How do people normally respond when you're talking about abused men?
So I get the gamut. When I first was talking about this, I recognized, and so the title of my book is Abuse of Men by Women, and I really put an emphasis on the by and the of, because I noticed that even when I said abuse of men by women, people would hear abusive men.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because they're just so trained that this is only going in one direction. And so some people, once they really got what I was talking about, they were like, yeah, and it'd be like these sort of sighs of relief or acknowledgement in a room. Invariably, somebody is angry. Invariably, out of any group, somebody is angry that I'm talking about this. And I've been at this for a while, and I'm very encouraged to see there is growing awareness and willingness to talk about it. More men are coming forward, but we have to create the system that invites that.
Correct.
We can't blame men for not coming forward when their experience of attempting to do that is met with skepticism or much worse, where they are demeaned, where they are called abusers.
And blatant denial.
Culturally.
Yeah.
And blatant denial, yeah. One interview I did, the interviewer was a guy, and he was sharing that his brother had come to him repeatedly, saying that his wife was physically attacking him, and the brother, just basically sent him back into the lion's den, just poo-pooed the stories, and then felt terrible when he eventually witnessed it and recognized, he had enabled his brother to be abused by not being able to hear him.
Right.
So, and this is Tara. The question that I have that you just you spoke about creating the system for men to receive help. How do we create that system?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a big question. So I think the very first one is education. That's why I wrote the book, because I saw a void. There was no place for me to send men who were dealing with this for help and information that was safe, because there's just too much of them being, them turning to professionals who are supposed to be there to help people who are being abused, and instead they just become another level of abuse for them, with the denial, with the oh no, you can't possibly be right, or worse, you must be an abuser yourself. Mm-hmm. So we have education is the key, and people to be able to hear the stories in order for us to be opened up. And once it is, I think they'll recognize, oh yeah, that happened to my brother, that happened to my friend, and they'll start to put the pieces together. Mm-hmm. And I think that the Johnny Depp trial did an enormous service to opening people's eyes, because it was a personality people felt some connection to, and the trial came into your living room. And so you got to witness the stories from both sides, and it very much increased people's awareness.
Right. I also, I've always talked about the terminology. We're using methods that were designed for women and terminology that speaks to women who are victims. So we even need to decide how we're going to talk about abused men. And you brought up a really good point that we need to call them targets, not victims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the best that I've come up with so far. I'm open to other words, but yes, and I actually recently wrote a chapter for a book. It's somebody else's book, but I wrote a chapter about helping abused men, and in it I spoke to that, and it's an academic book, so it had to be heavily referenced, and I found somebody else in a peer-reviewed journal who brought this up, that the terminology of victim and perpetrator, it's just not something that guys identify with. And so it becomes a roadblock to them recognizing what's happening for them. So that's what I came up with was, the source of the abuse and the target of the abuse.
Yeah, very good.
And I think it also leaves room for, these things belong on a continuum. There's nothing, these things aren't easy to sort out, because an abusive behavior or anything that might be abusive, that behavior can be put on a continuum from not at all abusive to very abusive.
Right.
And it depends on the circumstances and the situation where on that continuum it goes. Now, if we have a system that says women are good and men are bad, well, then everything that the guy does goes on the abusive end of the continuum, and everything the woman does, goes on the non-abusive end of the continuum.
Right.
Yeah.
Going to that, how do you define partner abuse?
So I define partner abuse as a pattern of behaviors that are controlling, demeaning, or punishing in intimate relationships. So that could be dating, it could be cohabitating, marriage, it could be exes. So it has those three elements. At least one of those three elements: controlling, demeaning, or punishing.
Right.
And it's coming from a self-centered place. It's self-serving.
Right. What forms of partner abuse do you talk about in the book? And can you talk a little bit about how women abuse? Because it is different, in some ways.
It is different. Right. It is sometimes different and sometimes the same. So there's some forms of abuse that are available in any particular mix of genders because of that mix of genders. And then there's other forms of abuse that are really very common across them. So the 7 forms of abuse are, let's see if I can come up with them. The first one we usually think about is physical abuse. And then we have sexual abuse that often comes up. Verbal, financial, legal, spiritual, and then emotional/psychological. I put those two together. And all the other forms of abuse have an emotional, psychological aspect to them. So that's the abuse we're going to see most often in general.
Okay.
Yeah, but in female to male, we see all 7 of these forms of abuse.
Right.
And then you were asking, how are they the same and different?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to go sort of one by one, but let's see. So an example. Let's see. So if we were to look at financial abuse, this just came up recently because I saw a thing on Twitter about it. Somebody saying, oh, men can't possibly be financially abused by a woman. And these are people who beat the patriarchy drum, and for them, everything comes down to patriarchy, and they're very, very stuck in a paradigm, stuck in a viewpoint about how to look at and how they view the world. I think actually it's not even just DV; it's how they view the world. And so financial abuse, female to male, might look just like the ways we think about it happening male to female. So it might be restricting money. It might be interfering with going out and making a livelihood on their own, going out and being an income earner. It might be that it could be that the woman is playing helpless. And so she's refusing to contribute to the household financially. It could be that she's playing on the cultural stereotypes of the male is the financial provider for the family. So a woman could take advantage of that.
Yes.
I see that from dating. I get very frustrated by that we have moved so far when it comes to women in the workforce and making equal amounts of money to males. And yet we have this dating system where the guy is supposed to pay for meals and everything and a whole bunch of money on an engagement ring, and then they get married, and the guy's money is the family money and the woman's money is her money. So there's a lot of ways that the cultural stereotypes that we have for gender can actually be utilized by a woman to, like, for example, financially abuse her partner.
Right.
Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I think I emailed you this. I was doing some research and I found an article from the U.S. Department of Justice, their Office of Justice programs. Of course, it goes back to 2005, but this belief is still present today, that it's a myth that women are as violent as men. And this woman is a social worker, and she argues that any violence by women against a male partner is typically defensive and retaliatory. So basically, males' behavior becomes the context of the relationship to which women respond in adaptive ways. Depending on their personalities and coping, women's abusive behavior toward their male partners are not typically an effort to control the partner through physical violence, but rather to reclaim self-respect, fend off the man's assault, protect children and others, or try and end the partner's repetitive abuse, really promoting the myth that women are as violent as men in intimate relationships is to continue the tactic of blaming the victim. Women can only be compared to men as perpetrators of domestic violence when they initiate physical and psychological aggression. Basically saying that women can't be violent of their own volition, that it's the man is causing them to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's saying. That's exactly what it's saying. It's saying women cannot be violent of their own volition. And it doesn't make any sense. The only way that they they're stuck in their mind on this idea that DV is because of the patriarchy. And so everything has to fit. So they'll do mental gymnastics to make everything that they see fit into that. So as they now have to face that women are sometimes physically hurting their male partners. So how they dealt with that is go, oh yeah, but it's not their fault. And again, it gives a bigger cultural issues around blaming men, making males responsible for everything, and putting women in this helpless position, like they don't have their own autonomy. But that's not the reality of the world we live in now. There was a time when women didn't have much autonomy, but we have to go back 50 plus years. Somehow there's a lot of women who are very attached to grievance and victimhood.
Right.
And it's the only way I can get my head around what's going on with this viewpoint. I guess another piece is I I researched the, how did this whole patriarchy thing get so ingrained in the DV narrative? And so what I found out was that when people started to care, and the criminal system, the court system, started to care about DV, it was simultaneous with the growth of the women's movement. And so the women were already organizing themselves to support each other through challenges. And one of those challenges was when they were the target of abuse in relationships. And so when the court system was looking for, well, how do we get information to inform what we want to do with laws? Who's working on the issue of DV? It was these groups of women. They were support groups. And that's who they turned to. And they turned to them in Duluth, Minnesota. And so what we got was the Duluth model of treating DV. And it's based on only the experience that came out of self-identified women who were the targets of abuse. And then the men who were put into the system to and labeled as perpetrators.
Yeah.
So that's the basis of the Duluth model, and the Duluth model is still the basis of DV treatment. And so we have a closed circle of people in what I've come to call the DV community that is talking amongst themselves and perpetuating the ideas that were the ideas of their origin.
Right. And it's real important because that impacts services, funding, and grants, why we don't have many treatments for men. And I think what's really interesting about this is it did come out of the women's movement. It was an important movement. Feminists did a lot for women. However, women have always been violent. Women were violent at the same time that feminists were trying to protect, against violent men. So it's almost like it's not like women just suddenly became violent. As long as humans exist, they've been violent. So we've really missed the boat completely, even going back then. I mean, they had an agenda and they were successful at it, but they completely left out, even at that time, there were women abusing men and children. And we don't even talk about the children who get affected either when we have, violent in partners relationships with females.
Oh, right, because the statistics are hugely more women abuse children than men abuse children.
Yes.
So, Anne, I know that in your book, Part 3, you dedicated 7 chapters to why women abuse men. And I think, I think people don't understand why women abuse, because I believe that women abuse men differently than men who abuse women. And I don't know if you agree with that or not, because some of the things that I see in your book, I don't know that men would abuse for that reason, but maybe they would. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the DV community would have you believe there's only one reason for somebody to abuse their intimate partner, and that reason is patriarchy. Mm-hmm. So, and if we break that down, it would be like basically a man being anti-woman, or feeling like they are entitled to have that kind of power over their partner because he's a guy and she's a woman. That's the DV community's perspective. From my perspective, you could have it, especially now, you could have it in a female to male relationship where you've got women who feel entitled to beat up on their guys. They feel entitled to control them, demean them, punish them, because we've gone that far with the pendulum swing. Mm-hmm. But I have 71 other reasons why someone might abuse their partner. And I have a pretty similar, I've got a blog post with pretty similar 72 reasons why a man might abuse his partner, his female partner. So it could be, it could be anger issues. It could be childhood modeling. So that was modeled to them as a child. It could be that they were actually privileged and pedestalized as a child, and so they feel like they have the right to everything going their way. It could be mental illness. I see it a lot with anxiety. When somebody isn't owning their own anxiety and recognizing I'm responsible for this overreaction I have to things, they can think I'm in all this pain, and so whoever is involved here is awful, and if they would just stop doing this awful thing, I wouldn't be in pain anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's my right to demand that they stop doing this thing. And the thing might be, how they squeeze the toothpaste tube. It could be anything that they might be overreacting to. It could be something big. It could, and then it's not abuse. If it's something that you have a reasonable reaction to, then it's not abuse. Other ways, other reasons could be, it could be health issues. You could have a brain injury that can, those people can then turn into having anger issues, mood disorders. It could be personality disorders, which is a different issue than mental illness. So it could be borderline personality disorder, narcissism, histrionic, those sorts of categories of things. It could be, they have self-esteem issues, and so they get triggered and defensive and become abusive. There's really a myriad of reasons for why people do what they do. And not all the reasons are rational, and not all the reasons are good. So one of the things I say is reasons for behavior don't excuse behavior.
Mm-hmm. Right. Very good.
Well, Anne, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with the Men's 911 Show.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want to become a radio show host, or do you want to create a radio show? Well, Dr. Stan Fine can help you to have your own radio show and put you on 100 cities daily across the U.S. And you can immediately start recording from a live radio studio. As a radio industry veteran, Dr. Stan Fine has 12 years of experience and has produced and hosted over 1,000 radio shows with over 10 million listeners. Dr. Stan Fine knows how to make this happen for you. He's a pro, and he can turn your dreams into a reality. Dr. Stan Fine will help you with everything from learning how to promote your show, develop a host persona, interview techniques, market your show on social media, teach you how to get guests and sponsors, and more. Dr. Stan Fine can put you on the air nationwide daily to 100 cities. If you're interested in making your dream come true, if you want to see how it all works, then give Dr. Stan Fine a call at 314-710-8413. That's 314-710-8413. You've got nothing to lose, and Dr. Stan Fine can help make your nationwide radio dreams come true. If you're looking for a new, informative health and lifestyle show to gain knowledge and inspiration to help guide your journey to think, work, and live more powerfully, then you need to listen to Sage Advice with Melissa. Now, whether you're trying to improve your life from a mental, physical, or spiritual journey, Sage Advice with Melissa Coleman, CEO of Sage Skincare, delivers weekly advice from industry experts to provide you with insightful suggestions to allow you to thrive with a better quality of life. Melissa's mission: to guide you through the uncharted waters of health and wellness and to give you a voice to help improve your life. So be sure to tune in to Melissa on KWRH 92.9 FM every Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, listeners, saying thanks to your customers is nice and polite, but expressing your gratitude in memorable and ongoing ways can boost your business. At Promo Experts LLC, we exceed our customers' expectations. For over 20 years, our product knowledge and experience has helped them with their marketing initiatives and trade show graphics. We are happy to put that experience to work for you. Quality products, great customer service, and prices are our number one priority. We work with you to find unique, creative, and new ideas that fit your image and expectations, helping you build strong relationships with your customers. When you select Promo Experts as your marketing partner, we help you to see more than the big picture. For more information about this exciting opportunity, contact Diane Carson, President, at 636-458-5241. That's 636-458-5241. Let Promo Experts help you to move your business brand beyond the bland. Have you always wanted to write your own book but don't know where to start? Publishing Concepts, a publishing company located right here in St. Louis, offers everything from consulting, book printing, copyrights, ISBNs and barcodes, print book layout, ebook and iBook layout, graphic design, cover design, ghostwriting, typing and editing, distribution, marketing, and more for an affordable price. Visit publishingconceptsllc.com or just Google Publishing Concepts to get started today, or call 314-781-8880. That's 314-781-8880. Publishing Concepts. We help you sell more books.
In today's economy, there are more people looking to buy and sell businesses than ever before. When a company owner needs to sell their business, they can't just stick a for sale sign in the window. They need the assistance of a business broker to locate and vet potential buyers. On the other side, buyers rely on the broker to help facilitate the process of evaluating potential businesses and franchises for sale. A Transworld Business Advisor is the solution for both scenarios. Transworld Business Advisors focus on three core concepts: business brokerage, franchise consulting, and franchise development. Transworld has specialized in the sale of business and commercial real estate. Today, Transworld Business Advisors is a global network of brokers offering a turnkey solution for those that want to build a solid business and future for themselves while maintaining a balanced quality of life. With our comprehensive training program, full marketing support, and local field support, you won't have to start from scratch. Our trained experts and members will help you every step of the way. Transworld Business Advisors has 40 plus years of experience, 10,000 plus businesses sold, and 600 plus brokers, 250 offices worldwide. For a free initial consultation, call Charlie Scarlett, business broker, or Billy Rowland, business broker, at 636-400-6100. Again, that's Charlie Scarlett, business broker, or Billy Rowland, business broker, at 636-400-6100.
Many small businesses do not have a marketing manager. In many cases, it is the company owner that drives marketing and sales efforts with the gut instinct to survive. Even when small businesses do have a marketing manager, though, many of them are trying to navigate through the complex sales and marketing landscape with little to no success or budget.
How to Promote Your Business with Limited Money is a general purpose how-to-business book written for business owners and marketing professionals by business owners Dr. Stan Fine and Joseph W. Clote. This guide is not intended to be read as a front-to-back chapter book and rather serves as a quick reference guide. Refer to this book as you need specific information and skip around as needed.
Promoting your business with limited money is one challenging feat, but there are unlimited ideas you can apply to achieve objectives you pre-establish. So put on your marketing hat and let's take action to start showing your prospects the value your business delivers.
A little you need to know about Dr. Stan Fine. During his 60-year career, Dr. Fine has become an authority on sales and marketing business development issues. His presentations have made him much in demand as a speaker and seminar leader. He has taught business development topics at numerous universities across the United States and has conducted over 500 sales and management seminars. Some of Dr. Fine's credentials in corporate America are currently: Dr. Fine serves as a co-host of the It's Your Business radio show on KDORH 92.9 FM in St. Louis and a co-host of Nationwide Daily Radio Show on my Genre Radio Network on the Xeno Media platform. In 100 cities, he is also on a daily TV show on the Valuable TV and the Real TV networks. Go and get a copy of How to Promote Your Business with Limited Money today.
To purchase your copy of How to Promote Your Business with Limited Money, go to It's Your Business website at www.itsyourbusinessradio.com.
Thank you.
Welcome back, audience. You are listening to the Men's 911 Show. Are you aware that in today's society, approximately 1 in 8 men will experience domestic violence in the form of psychological trauma, physical violence, and or stalking by a female partner? On the Men's 911 Show, experts Tara Evans and Sharon Jackson will address men's issues that are often never discussed or addressed due to lack of knowledge, lack of resources, and or inequality in societal standards concerning male issues. The mission of the 911 Show is to bring awareness and education and provide resources and tools to support men so they can experience healthy lifestyles and nurturing relationships that reinforces responsible manhood and preservation of families. Tune in every week on KWRH 92.9 FM on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. and nationwide Monday through Friday on the My Genre Radio Network at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., where guest industry experts and resources are discussed to positively impact the outcomes for men. For more information, go to coverthefamily.org or call 314-709-6868. Again, that's coverthefamily.org or call 314-709-6868.
Hello, welcome back. Ann, are you there?
I'm here.
Good.
Yes.
Kind of picking up on where we left off is lots of people think women can't really hurt men physically. But if they hit their male partner, it isn't really a problem. How can a woman hurt a man physically?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really gets in the way of people understanding what's going on and minimizing what's happening for men. So one thing I would say about that I feel like I don't maybe talk about enough is I'm going to get into how a woman can definitely physically harm her male partner, even if there's a size disadvantage. There's ways around the size disadvantage, and I'm going to talk about that. But first, I want to say too, like, there is a psychological, emotional abuse that goes with slapping, hitting, punching, kicking your male partner, even if he's big enough to sustain that blow. So I want to mention that it's not okay. We have a whole culture of saying it's totally women's entitlement to just haul off and slap her guy. We have it in romantic comedies. One that comes to mind is Fool's Gold, and it's Goldie Hawn's daughter. Her name is Kate Hudson, I think her name is, and Matthew McConaughey, and she gets mad at him. He's her ex-husband, and she just hauls off and hits him with an object. I think it's a golf club, if I remember correctly, and definitely hurts him. And it's comedy, like it's funny. It's from my perspective, it's not okay. So I don't think any level of a woman hitting a man is okay. Having said that, let's talk about the ways that a woman overcomes her size disadvantage. One is what I just mentioned, is using objects to hit. So if you hit somebody with a golf club, you're going to hurt them. Doesn't matter. You got leverage and physics on your side. Another is surprise attacks. So one man talked about his wife would jump on his back and claw at his face with her fingernails and leave marks, leave gouges. Another is to attack when they're vulnerable. So attacking when he's inebriated or asleep, driving a car. I've heard all of these. So one guy I worked with, he woke up in the middle of the night to being hit by the clock radio, or she was hitting him with it. Another is taking advantage of the cultural norm that boys don't hit girls. So we do a great job of training males. You don't hit a female. But we are not doing a good job of even saying to females, you don't hit males. In fact, we're doing the contrary. We're okaying it and even applauding it. So a lot of guys will not hit back. It doesn't matter how hard they're being hit by their female partner. They won't hit back. And so she can take advantage of that. One man that I talked to, and his story is on my blog, he, for many, many years, was physically attacked, hit, all sorts of punishing, brutal physical attacks from his wife. And he would put his hands in his back pockets so that he would resist his desire to self-defend.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the issue of if a guy does self-defend, he's probably, and that's just her, now she can call the police and he's going to go to jail.
Right.
So that's some of it. And another one is even engaging other people. So one guy was married to a woman for quite a while, but she had children from a previous marriage who she would, and they were two boys. And so the wife would engage the boys in, and they were teenagers and older when she would do this. They would beat up on him as well.
Yeah, shared. I can't, when I would work with men, and I have to tell you, this waking men up in the middle of the night seems like a really common theme, like between 2 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And I think part of it is to debilitate. And I've learned that the women will debilitate the man in a lot of different ways, try to weaken him.
Yeah.
And this waking him up in the middle of the night, and some of these women would wake these men up just to the point where they disturbed his sleep enough. But he didn't fully wake him up. So he'd have a habit of waking up not feeling fully rested, not realizing what she's doing. Or they'd wake up just to rage on the man. And one man was saying how he got in a cycle. She would one day wake him up beating on him, and then the next day wake him up wanting to have intimacy. So he got in this cycle. I mean, just, the intermittent reinforcement, right? Like, what are you waking me up for this time? And what people don't understand is people need solid sleep. So when when a woman wakes you up in the middle of the night for whatever reason, that's not a healthy thing to do. I mean, that's a control tactic because the man needs his sleep. Well, we all need our sleep. So whatever her reason is for doing it, it's a red flag. It's really alarming. And another common one is men, when they're driving, women will yell at them and scream at them. And the men get fearful of driving, afraid they're going to wreck or she's going to hit them while they're driving. It's another common one.
I've had cases where she does hit him while she's driving. And I had a case where she pulled the steering wheel. So he's driving. She pulls the steering wheel. There were kids in the car, so she's threatening to kill them all. Is what she's doing.
And can you talk a little bit? I know this concept of coercive control was created by Yvonne Stark out at Rutgers, and he really meant it for the way men coercively abuse females. But I've always been looking for this way that women coerce men, psychologically. And then the other concept is where inside the house, there are these abusive tyrants, but outside they have a mask of nice and kindness. And people just can't believe the man or can't even believe that she's even capable of being abusive because she's so well at masking her appearance outside versus inside the home.
Yes, and we see that with any gender configuration. So that's one of the things that goes across the different ways, the different kinds of relationships that can be harboring abusive behaviors inside the home, is that outside the home, the picture might be very different. And, sometimes the outsiders, family or friends, they actually are getting clues, but they're afraid to say something. Or
Right.
if they do, then the person who is being abused becomes defensive and protects the partner.
Yes.
It can actually even make them feel like they're going to take more abuse because
Right.
then they go into protection mode, and that's one of the ways that we teach guys to be protect your woman.
Right. Right. And can you talk about some of the reasons why victims do deny and protect the perpetrator?
Yeah. So it's another long list. It's not 72 things that's why people abuse, but it's a pretty long list. It can be many factors for an individual or different ones. So it can be a lot of men will stay because of the children, and they know they're likely going to be disadvantaged in the court system in terms of custody or even time with their children. So that can make them stay and put up with a lot. It could be financial reasons. So just like we've become used to the idea a woman might not leave if the man has more finances than the woman does, a man might not leave. Maybe it's because the woman has more finances. Maybe it's because he has more finances, but he can't see how he can manage to support two households. So he stays. Or he realizes it's going to take finances away from the children. So he stays.
Right.
It could be that he is overemphasizing qualities in himself to his detriment. So we can overuse qualities, so we can be too forgiving, we can be too tolerant, we can be too perseverant, and so sometimes people will stay because of that, and they need to learn how to get those things more into the healthy zone. And sometimes people will stay because of shame, especially guys, because, like we've talked about, the culture is not really out there with an embrace of, yeah, we get it and we're going to support you. Sometimes it could be that religious reasons are keeping them stay, either because they have conviction around marriage is forever, or they have this emphasis on the male role as the provider and protector of the family. It could be shame because this sense of, this doesn't happen to guys, so I can't go out there in the world and admit that it's happening to me, because then that's not manly. So that very much gets in the way. It could be fear of failure, and this could happen whether it's a woman who's being abused or a man who's being abused. But I think the male gender roles make it that much harder for guys. There's a sense of the man law being, you don't need help, you should be able to fix everything, which includes the relationship. So it can be very hard to admit to yourself, I can't fix this. So what I would say to any guy listening who's there is, not everything is fixable. When if you're somebody who goes out to purchase homes to flip them, or you're a construction person who renovates, you got to know the difference between a building that has dry rot and a crumbling foundation that's not going to be fixable. The difference between something that can be fixed, and don't go for the one that's not fixable.
Right.
I think you can.
Exactly. Can you give some examples of men who've been hurt by their wives or girlfriends?
Yeah. So when you ask that question, are you thinking of any of the forms of abuse or ones in particular?
Yeah, just some. I'm looking just for some men who are listening, and for our other listeners, to just give some examples of what it looks like, how it presents.
So it could look anything from an example of financial abuse, so taking advantage of him financially. It could be, you ask, let's say you have an agreement where she's taking care of the banking and the finances, and every time you ask her to see the bank accounts, she doesn't have time, or she starts crying, or she avoids. I've seen that kind of thing happen in financial abuse. So that's one example of that. The physical abuse could be on the thinking of the guy who I mentioned earlier, who his wife would engage her son, so his stepson, in physically attacking him. So that same man, she would park her car behind his in the driveway so he would not have an escape route when she would later attack him. There's sexual abuse where, the one that you mentioned where the woman was going back and forth between one night waking him up in the middle of the night and attacking him physically, and the next night waking him up and engaging in sex, or initiating sex, or demanding sex. I'm not sure what to classify it as. And then that was a routine that repeated. So that sex was actually abusive because of what she attached it to, and because it was demanding. I think that sexual abuse is an area where we can have a really hard time recognizing it, but it happens. And it can be seduction, manipulation. A really common one is accidental on purpose pregnancies.
Yes.
So trapping a man with a pregnancy. And it could be a pregnancy that's real. It could be a pregnancy that's not even real. But she claims she's pregnant and gets him to marry her. And that's the trap. It could be a financial trap, or it could be a relationship trap. I've dealt with a lot. I've dealt with so many couples where the man has been trapped by a pregnancy that now, if I'm working with a couple and I get some clues from the age of the kids and the age of the marriage and some other things that are going on, I'll potentially start asking questions about were these pregnancies planned. And sometimes pregnancies aren't planned, and they are legitimate, and they're not manipulative, they're accidents. That definitely happens. But sometimes they're manipulated. So one young man told me a story. He'd had sex with his... So let me check in with you because the background noise has disappeared. So am I still in contact with you?
Yeah, we still hear you. It got a little hollow. I mean, you're a little distant.
Okay. How about now?
Perfect. Yes. We hear you. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'll just repeat myself a little bit. So a young man that I worked with who was dating a girl, a woman, and so they were far enough in their relationship, I think, where she had voiced that she wanted kids. He had voiced, I don't want kids. I mean, repeatedly, he made it very clear. I don't want kids now. And they had sex, and it was a master bedroom, ensuite bathroom situation. He left the room, and he came back into the room and saw her retrieving the used condom from the garbage can.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So for any guys, you have to be very careful.
Yes.
If a woman that you're in a relationship with is suddenly claiming she's pregnant, then don't even trust a pregnancy test that she shows you, because she can go online easily and buy a fake positive pregnancy test.
Right.
You've got to have custody yourself of the pregnancy test and watch while it's being used to know if it's the real answer or not. And go to the doctor's appointment. Make sure, because there's even fake ultrasounds that they can buy with their names on them.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a whole cottage industry.
Right. It's interesting. Well, it's awful, but men need to be aware of this, right? I mean, we need to
Mhm.
educate men of these manipulations. It's terrible.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who claim that women only physically attack their male partners in self-defense?
I would say no. I mean, it happens. It can happen in any gender configuration that you attack in self-defense. So it happens female. Let me think. It happens male to female, where when he attacks, it might be self-defense. That happens. The same with when a woman is attacking her male partner, it might be self-defense. But it's only one of 72 possible reasons why a partner might attack their other partner. And we have to take ownership of our actions. And so we have to, if we're in a relationship where it's come to that, we have to really think that we're in danger. You know, we've lost ourselves if that's not our general personality, and we feel like we've been pushed to that place.
Right.
You either need to get counseling help, or you need to, figure out how to get out, because it's not going to end well. And one way to test it is you potentially get some help, build some skills about how to control your self-defense response, which could be anger. It's triggering fight, flight, or freeze. So, get some skills so you can stop that trigger, and you'll get clearer about what's the responsibility. What have you been bringing to the table in terms of abuse to the relationship, and what has your partner been bringing to the table?
Good.
So until you stop your anger response, you can't really get clear about what the other person is, where their responsibility lies.
Yeah. Well, and we have about 2 minutes left. And in the final minutes, I just want to let people know that you are at AnnSilvers.com, and you also have a blog. And briefly, if you can, in a minute, tell us about House Bill 1270, when you're trying to establish the Washington State Commission on Boys and Men, and where they can find information on that.
Yeah. So my website is, like I said, AnnSilvers.com, no E on Ann. And HB 1270 was in Washington State. We have been working for 2 years to establish a state committee, a state-funded, legislative-funded commission on boys and men. And if we get it, we would be the first state to get that. So we've been working hard and making progress. It's dead for this year, but it is very much alive for next year. And we just moved seamlessly into building our allies for next year. And this year it did get bipartisan support in the House of Representative members who did sign on as sponsors. So that was very encouraging.
Very good.
Very hopeful for next year.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ann, thank you so much. And we'll have you back again if you're willing.
I'd love to.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, audience, that's our show for this week. As a reminder, our goal is to not only help male victims, but also men find a path to save their lives and restore their identities as leaders, providers, and protectors in their families and communities. We want to thank our guest, Ann Silvers, for being on the show. And remember, we will join you again next Wednesday at 3 p.m. here on KWRH 92.9 FM and KXOK 102.9 FM and nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Be blessed and see you next week.
Welcome to the Men's 911 Show. Each week, mental health host experts Sharon Jackson and Tara Evans share their wisdom on how to help men afflicted with female abuse. Welcome.
Hi, this is Rebecca from Taiwan, and you are in listen to 102.9 FM.
Welcome to the Men's 911 Show.